Hey guys, how is everybody doing? With the release of the brand new Salem's Lot adaptation of Stephen King's classic novel, now out on Max if you do, so watch it, go ahead and watch it. If you have a Max subscription, I will be watching it. And with that, I am going to be talking about the original 1979 adaptation of Salem's Lot, directed by Toby Hooper. I thought I would love it because of his name, but I was wrong. Yes, I am back. I am not dead. I did not disappear. I did not quit YouTube. I am back. I've been gone for a few weeks. My last video was almost a month ago. That is very hard to believe. I have not posted in almost a month. That is scary. And I've been gone. School is back. I've been busy with that. And last week to today actually, I got my wisdom teeth removed, and probably not a smart idea to make a video, but hey, I like breaking rules. But yeah, I did not feel very hot making videos. I didn't feel like I should because talking kind of hurt. But now I feel a little bit better to make videos. Still kind of hurts, but not as bad as it did last week. But I'm back now. I'm back to talk about movies and all that good stuff. I will be making reviews more here and there. But yeah, with that all out of the way, enough stalling. Here are my thoughts on Salem's Lot. Starting out with my positives on Salem's Lot, and one of the first things that I really enjoyed about the movie, one of the things that really caught my attention at the very beginning of the movie was the score for this movie. I don't know what it was, but when I started watching the movie, when it like kind of first begins at the beginning of the film with the score, it was very unsettling, and it kind of really matched the tone of this movie and kind of really matched that vampire gothic like type of score, kind of like a score you kind of hear in like an old like Universal monster type film. That's what it kind of felt like in this movie, and that's what I kind of really got out of it. It was unsettling, it was creepy, it really matched the tone of it. It kind of had me have that nostalgia feeling with watching classic Universal monsters. So you see in the corner over there, quality is not very good, but you can kind of see it. But yeah, it just really reminded me a lot of that. It really reminded me a lot of just old school vampire films, and that is why I'm very excited to check out the new Salem's Laws because old school vampires are finally coming back. But yeah, the score was one of the very first things that caught my attention. And and I don't usually talk about scores on my channel, and if I talk about a score, you know it's pretty good. One of the more surprising things about this film, one of the more surprising elements about this film is that there's actually a lot of creepy moments in this film, and I did not expect that. There's like certain moments, like small moments, to where like there's like this dog that kind of guards like this cemetery, and and there's like one scene where he's just barking and barking. The guy keeps telling him to shut up, and he just walks away. But he keeps barking, and then all of a sudden it just stops, and then the camera slowly starts to unveil that the dog had been killed by something, and it showed that the dog was dead. And like that scene, it's very small details. It's very small scene in a way, but it was kind of unsettling just hearing a dog bark, and then just there was no squeal or anything by my memory. It just stopped, just pure silence, and then it just showed that the dog was dead. And there's moments where like this guy's like running out of this girl's house, and then all of a sudden this hand just pops up out of nowhere. And I don't usually get scared very easily, but that actually kind of freaked me out because it was like the hand of the vampire. I believe the guy's name is Orlok in this movie. But like that part really kind of freaked me out. I was like, "Oh god." Even just like the look of the vampires and just how the vampires act in this movie, they kind of creeped me out, like the guy kind of like rocking in the rocking chair in one sequence, and like he kind of slowly goes up to that old man in the film. Like, that moment really kinda had me on edge, and, I'm really glad to say that because 'cause I'm a very old school vampire fan. I love old school vampire films like Fright Night and The Lost Boys, and recently with Abigail. God, I'm so glad vampire films are coming back. But, like, I really like that version of vampires, and I really like that version of vampires, and it is very unsettling. But, yeah, I really like that. I don't know what that was. I tried to itch my nose. And going along with that, the vampires in this movie are awesome. I am a huge vampire fan, as I just said. I love vampires. They're one of my favorite creatures, I guess you could call them, ever. And I hated how they were ruined by fucking Twilight. Thanks, Pattinson, but you have redeemed yourself with Batman. Little pat on the back for you, bud. But I just love old school vampires. I love creepy vampires. I love that they're kind of sexy, like Jerry from Fright Night. Like he's kind of like that sexy, cool guy. Like that's how I picture a vampire. But Twilight just took it fucking balls to the walls with it. But this movie has some of the creepiest and some of the coolest vampires. Some of the effects on the teeth and some of the effects on them aren't amazing on today's day, but they are creepy and they are awesome. That like the main vampire, like when he first excuse me, when he first shows up, he's just awesome. He's creepy. I love that how he kind of turns other people into vampires, like how this movie is just not afraid to kill like a kid and he turns into a vampire in this movie as well. And how he's like kind of hanging outside the window and kind of like talking in his normal voice, like, let me in.
It's okay, Mark, I'm your friend. He commands it.
Let me in. Like that moment is creepy, and that is what a vampire is to me. That's just what it is to me because that is just how awesome vampires are. Every time I think of a cool ass vampire, I think of that. I think of these type of vampires. Robert Pattinson and the sexy bullshit, and the girl can't make up her mind if she wants to date a werewolf or a vampire. Ironically, as I'm filming this video, I got a notification on my phone. It is your monthly recap. Well, good thing I made a video just in time for this, because whoa, I would not have gotten very good on that. I usually do good when I post regularly, but not now. Moving on to the negatives, I really felt this movie really rushed the love stuff with the characters. Oh, I have read some of the book of Salem's Lot, but I haven't read much. I haven't had the time for it. But what I have read from this book, it does take the love story thing going on with the characters pretty slow from what I've read. It doesn't rush them. It doesn't try to rush it because it's literally just like like a 3 minute scene even where these two literally just meet and then they like fall in love because the main character of this movie, he's like an author, and in the book, he's also an author, and he's in Salem's Lot to write the book. He lived there at one point when he was a child, I believe, and he's there to write a book, and he sees that this girl who is John John Kramer, what? Not John Kramer, John McClane's wife in Die Hard. She is the love interest of this film. And they literally just meet. He sees that she is reading one of his books. They kind of like talk for like 2 minutes. And there's like, you want to go to lunch with me sometime? It's just like, well, really? Already? But in the book, they actually have like a full conversation. They have like a whole like 10-page conversation in this book. But in this, it's literally like this much of them to like get to know each other. Like they go on a date where he eats at her family's lunch and then they become boyfriend and girlfriend and they don't know jack shit about one another. It's like what? I know the movie's 3 hours long, but couldn't you have like explained more? Not explain, kind of like explore more, maybe have them have more scenes with each other. Like they rush it so much. It's just like, really? We're doing this so fucking fast that I really wish that's how it was like in real life with me. I don't have any girlfriends. But hey, sucks for them. And the writing of this movie is just really all over the place because they focus on so many characters and so many plot points to where they kind of have this one part going on. They have this going on with these characters that like it literally just goes nowhere. You have the main story going on with the two love interests, with the two love characters. You get the with the author and the girl that loves the author. And you get this couple that one is like a driver and his wife is cheating on him with her boss or something. You have this a kid practicing for a play that ends up with one of his friends turning into a vampire, and there's like so many of the plots just there's so many subplots just going on to where they never focus on one thing, and there's also like one subplot to where one of like the cop of this movie is kind of investigating pretty much the fucking apprentice of the with the vampire, which is very obvious from the get go of the movie. which, like, really? Well, and some of them they introduce and they do stuff with, and they go literally nowhere. Like I mentioned with the wife cheating on her husband with her boss, that literally goes freaking nowhere. To where there's like one part to where it's just like they're kind of they're talking sexy over the phone. They're about to have sex, but then the husband was like tricking them. He comes in with a shotgun and he like threatens the guy and he messes with him and possibly kills his wife at one point. But you just hear him like slapping her after the door closes, and they don't go anywhere with it. They don't go back to it. They don't try to explore because once the boss dies, who's the boss and Anchorman as well, he ends up dying from the vampire off screen, and they just never go back to it. I was sort of interested because I was wondering what they would do with it, but they do it, and it just goes nowhere. They literally could cut that whole subplot out of the film, it would go nowhere. I'm hoping they do that with the new one on Max, which is hopefully what ends up happening. I haven't watched the 2004 version of Salem's Law, which I'm assuming is still there in the film. But they honestly could cut so many of these subplots out and shorten some of these subplots in this film, and it would have no effect on the film. Like the writing is literally everywhere in this film. They didn't know who to focus on, and Toby Hooper read the script just like, oh fuck it, just keep it all in there. It's just like really. Again, I have not gotten that far in the book, but I don't think it all needs to be there. On because when you read a book, not all of it needs to be accurate. Like even the It miniseries, which is based off Stephen King's novel, they cut a lot from that book. They cut a lot from there. That's a miniseries. Miniseries are usually more accurate to a book. The Ant miniseries cuts a lot from that book. But yet again, it's 1,100 pages. But this book is maybe only 700 pages. Who knows? Yeah, it's only almost 700 pages. There is a lot from that book you could have cut out. There's a lot from this movie you could have cut out, but they just don't. And like I mentioned earlier on, talking about the vampires, how some of the things on them don't really age well. Some effects in this movie don't really age well, but it's a very small negative. If anything, it's a nitpick. And this movie did come out in 1979, so I won't mess with it too much because some of the effects on the vampires, some effects with like just certain scenes going on, some of them just don't really age well, especially some of the acting, which, yet again, it's a mini series. I shouldn't have expected much. Acting and some of the effects of this film don't really age much, which I wasn't really surprised by, but it's not a huge negative. It didn't really take me out of the movie much. It's just something that I noticed while I was watching the film. All in all, guys, I don't hate this film. I don't think it's a bad film. I just think it's okay. It's an okay adaptation of Stephen King. It's a pretty solid vampire movie that is way too long. This movie's 3 hours long. There is so much that could have been cut out. That's why I'm pretty excited for the Max one because that one looks shorter and it looks more decent. But it's fine for a 70s vampire movie. It's pretty good. As a Stephen King adaptation, it's decent. Not the best film I've ever seen. Not the worst film I've ever seen. Not the best vampire movie I've ever seen. It's nowhere close to being one of my favorite vampire films by all means, but excuse me, but it's decent. I enjoy it. I wouldn't rewatch it because it's 3 hours long. But if you're a vampire fan and a Stephen King fan, it might work out for you, but I wouldn't recommend it to everyone because this movie is very long. If you don't want to sit down and watch a 3 hour vampire movie, I totally understand it. But if you are a Stephen King fan or a vampire fan, check it out. What do you guys think about Salem's Law? Have you seen it? What do you think about it? Do you like this movie? Do you not like this movie? Is the 2004 version better? Have you seen the new one? Do you think that one is better? Let me know in the comments below and we shall talk about it. If you like this video, like it. If you love it, subscribe to the bell notification so you will get notified for all of my latest videos. And of course, until my next video, see y'all next time.